All right, so I'm opening the meeting at 6:30 p.m. We have 4 members in attendance. 1 member, Brendan Chanel, will not be joining us tonight. We have nobody remote, and we are recording this meeting. Can you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so item number 2, citizen statements and petitions. I'm just asking if there's anybody online or in the room who wants to address the board. Seeing no one, we will move on to number 3, which is community events. So let me just go. The first thing is the citizens. I am going to need the, oh, no, there it is. All right, great. So the Senior Citizens Day, and I'm going to read that declaration off right now. Proclamation, sorry. So the Mendon Senior Citizens Proclamation is awarded to the senior citizens of Mendon, whereas the town of Mendon is truly blessed with senior citizens who have given their time and talents to make the town of Mendon a better place to live. And whereas those elder citizens of Mendon represent a wealth of knowledge and understanding, and whereas those elder statesmen have offered themselves freely and without compensation in an attempt to improve their community, and whereas throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, citizens are gathering to express their thanks to the seniors of the Commonwealth and to reaffirm the commitment of the Commonwealth and to safeguard the independence and dignity of our elders. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Mendon, do hereby proclaim that Sunday, the 21st day of September, the year 2025, as Senior Citizens Day in Mendon, Massachusetts, and to urge all citizens to express their appreciation and respect to those who have served this town so well throughout their lives. Signed this 20th day of August in the year of 2025 at Mendon, Massachusetts by the Mendon Select Board. So that's a mouthful of a way for us to say thank you and to declare that community event. And there's a luncheon as well, right?
Speaking of mouthfuls.
Yes, that was a good transition, Lena. Thank you. There'll be a senior citizen luncheon on the 21st, and you can find those details on their website. All right, and so also we have a proclamation for the Senior Citizen of the Year. Leo, senior citizens, sorry, plural, Leo and Peg Tatro. And I will also read that one as soon as I do a better job of scrolling here. All right, so Senior Citizen of the Year 2025 proclamation awarded to Leo and Peg Tatro. Starting with Peg. Peg has moved to Mendon after marrying Leo Tatro Jr. 57 years ago. They raised their son and daughter in Mendon and have 2 grandchildren, whereas Peg began work for the town of Mendon in 1988, where she was elected as the town clerk. She worked in that position until 2000. She also served briefly as a select board member due to resignations on the board. Whereas Peg, after leaving the clerk's office, served as administrative assistant, a position later changed to town administrator, in the select board's office until 2006 when she retired. Peg came out of retirement in 2013 to be appointed to the position of assistant town clerk until her retirement in 2024. Peg also served as the executive director of the Mendon Housing Authority from 1985 to 2000. Peg, in addition to her employment, was a member of the Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary, served on the town's Insurance Advisory Committee, and is currently treasurer of the Swandale Cemetery Association. Peg spent time volunteering at the Mendon Senior Center, working on their annual book sale, and still serves as a poll worker on town elections. And now, therefore, we, the Mendon Select Board, do hereby proclaim that Peg Tatro, Citizen of the Year, signed this 20th day of August in the year 2025 in Mendon, Massachusetts. All right, I'm going to take a sip. So thank you, Leo and Peg, and seniors as well. We do appreciate what you do for our community. And for letter C, we have a letter from the fire department thanking the board. Do you read Leo's proclamation? Is there another one? Should be. Shoot,
I
sorry.
think it was actually first in the packet.
It's second in the new packet, so thank you. There's just one thing in between I missed. Okay, so and now on to Leo's, which Senior Citizen of the Year 2025 proclamation awarded to Leo Tatro Jr. Leo, a lifelong resident of Mendon, was in the first graduating class from Nipmuc Regional High School in 1961. He and his wife, Peg, of 57 years, raised their son and daughter in Mendon and have 2 grandchildren. Whereas Leo served as a volunteer firefighter while partnering in the family business, Mendon's Lakeside Garage. When a call came in, he and his father closed the shop and both responded. Whereas Leo worked on the Mendon Highway Department for 20 years from the years 1982 to 2002. Whereas Leo served as a firefighter for the town for 34 years from the years 1968 to 2002, rising to the rank of deputy chief like his father before him. Whereas Leo, an Air Force veteran, served from 1964 to 1968 during the Vietnam War. Whereas Leo has been a member of the Mendham Brothers of the Brush since 1967. Now, therefore, we, the Mendon Select Board, do hereby proclaim that Leo Tatro Jr., as the Senior Citizen of the Year, signed this 20th day in August in the year 2025 in Mendon, Massachusetts. And I see how I messed that up. Okay, and the letter from the firefighters to the Select Board on July 10th, 2025 said, "Dear Mendon Select Board, thank you for once again supporting our annual Horribles Parade. Not only did you approve our parade permit, but you also provided some judges to help with the event. We're glad to have your support for the community outreach events such as this and look forward to working together on future events in the town. Thank you for your continued support of the Mendon Firefighters Union, Local 4936. Sincerely, Leonard Mergante." So, thank you very much for thanking us. We love having this event in town, and it's a great tradition that we continue year after year. And also, thank you for my chipwich. All right. Letter D, which is the second annual Scarecrow Contest. We've been mentioning this every week because it's an amazing event and it's a cool way to show your support for the town in a unique way. The second annual Scarecrow Contest you can sign up for that by emailing the Cultural Council at mendonma.gov and sometime in September. So you got to sign up before September 27th. And then you should display your scarecrow from the 1st to the 31st. And a winner will be announced on October 27th. So we'll look forward to seeing that. And Sunday, we have a townwide scavenger hunt on Sunday, September 21st from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's a rain or shine event. And we also have Rock the Block coming back this year on September 6th from 2 to 9 p.m. at Memorial Park. Number 4, we are going to pass over for the moment.
4A at least.
4A, sorry. But 4B, Carl Hummel has been interviewed by the board and by the committee. And I'd like to see a motion to appoint him for a 3-year term.
Move to appoint Carl Hummel to the Finance Committee for a 3-year term to expire June 30th, 2028.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes. Welcome to the Finance Committee, Carl. And letter C, we had one of the 3 candidates rescind, and so there are only 2 for those 2 positions. So I'd like to see a motion for.
Mr. Moore's here.
Oh, why don't you come on up? Okay, he's good. So I'd like to see a motion for Terrence Moore to be appointed to the Conservation Commission.
Move to appoint Terrence D. Moore to the Conservation Commission for a 3-year term to expire June 30th, 2028.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those against? Motion passes. And welcome to the Conservation Board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for Peter Coffin.
Reappoint Peter Coffin to the Conservation Commission for a 3-year term to expire June 30th, 2028.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those against? And that motion passes. So welcome back, Peter, to the Conservation Commission. All right. Number 5, meeting minutes for approval. So in last week's or 2 weeks ago's agenda, we submitted July 16th for approval. So I'd like to see a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes. And I did see meeting minutes for it. They're not listed on here, but we did circulate meeting minutes via the new agenda system. So just if you could give a perusal of those and send any feedback back to Katie for our next meeting, that would be great. I'm looking for
10.
Yeah. All right. The Rock the Block sign permission. So we're talking about the metal gate, like metal rail that's across the street from the town hall, draping a large banner on that.
Yep, town owned, and I spoke with the property owner this morning too. Even though it's town owned, it's the private citizen who owns the building behind it, and they were incredibly supportive of us hanging this up there for this event.
All right.
Good news all around.
So that's town owned, so we would need a motion to approve that sign.
To approve the Rock the Block sign outside Peregrine on the town fence.
Second.
Discussion? How long are we gonna hang that sign from now
Until
until?
the event on the 6th. So we'll take it down on the 7th. They will take it down on the 7th.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes. All right. We have a public meeting that starts in 1 minute. What are we missing?
The attorney is on the meeting.
Hey, Matthew.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm pretty good. We're gonna open this meeting in 40 seconds.
Perfect.
We had something for the event in the parking lot, but that's not today.
I was going to put it in the town administrator report.
Okay.
Our employee event.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just talk about it now. So tomorrow, HR, Jen O'Neill, is used part of the recruitment and retention budget to do an employee appreciation lunch cookout sort of thing. So we're using the recently donated Blackstone flat top from the fire department. And John Dudley and I will be, Highway Superintendent John Dudley and I will be cooking up lunch for folks tomorrow. I think the rain's going to stop and we'll have.
Better stop.
It's supposed to stop.
So we're going to use some of the stuff we bought with ARPA funds to do employee events like cups and plates and forks and knives and that kind of thing, and then use some of Jen's budget to do an employee appreciation lunch. So it's not always going to be something like this, but we're looking at least at quarterly or at least semi-annually to do something, whether it's even just an out and a walk together or some sort of kind of team building exercise with town staff.
The ice cream man's coming.
Sorry,
The ice cream man's coming too.
and there's ice cream.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. And it's like I get a 5-minute reminder. All right, so we are reopening the public meeting. It's been continued at 6:45 for PJ's at Miss Mendon Diner. This was the public hearing to transfer their liquor license. And we have Matthew on the phone representing PJ's.
Good evening. Thank you, board. My name is Matthew Porter. I'm the attorney for PJ's at Miss Mendon Diner. As we've stated, our folks have already been through the board. They on all of their food permitting. They're now open and operating the Miss Mendon Diner. Unfortunately, with the ABCC paperwork, just takes a little bit longer to put together. So we had to continue this out a bit just to make sure that we had a full application that would go up to them with no issues at all. So essentially, this is just the last piece of it, which is the transfer of the existing liquor license at the facility. Both Mr. Rogers and his wife have a plethora of experience in the liquor industry. They're both alcohol tip certified and certainly understand the rules and responsibilities that come along with the sale of alcohol. They own several successful restaurants that have pouring licenses already. So with that, I can certainly answer any questions that the board may have, but essentially this is just the last piece of transferring the licenses for the business.
Katie, we have a full application package. We have everything we need from the applicant.
So is there any discussion from the board? I know that we heard from the owners already and kind of pummeled them with some questions. This is just a standard transfer.
And I'm not sure, is this just malt liquor?
It's
malt beverages, or is it a full?
It's all beverages.
Okay.
Yeah, they have like a little mini bar there. I don't know if they're going to reopen it full or not. Do you know if they're going to reopen the full bar there, Matthew? I know.
Yeah, I don't know what the long-term, plans are there, but for now, the simplest, most straightforward way was just to transfer the full all alcohol license so they at least have those options available.
Counselor, can I ask, does that apply to just the diner or also the function room that's upstairs at the dealership?
Yeah, the license applies to both areas. I think it remains to be seen whether that function facility will be used, to the same degree that it has been. Our clients, obviously, the main focus here was on the diner itself, but because this is a transfer of an existing license, it covers exactly the area of space that the existing license has.
And all the insurances and everything that are in place covers both the diner and the facility upstairs, the dealership, if anybody wanted to use it for any reason, right?
Correct. Yeah, they would have to have their liquor liability insurance, and generally how we've done that, in the past is we'll supply that after the ABCC has approved it. But I think here where they already took over, they have all of their liability insurance in place, and certainly, if your office needs copies of any of that, if Katie doesn't have it, I'm happy to provide that.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
All right, so are there any comments from the board or from the public? Then I would take a motion to close the 6:45 public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? So the hearing is now closed at 6:49 p.m. on August 20th, 2025. And so now I would be looking for a motion to approve the transfer of the liquor license.
I move to approve the transfer of liquor license from Miss Mendon Diner to PJ's at Miss Mendon Diner.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? All right, so the motion passes. Congratulations. We're looking forward to your client doing business in our town.
Appreciate it. Have a great night.
All right, and so flowing into another alcohol conversation, there are changes that are being implemented by the ABCC that we need to implement here.
We can implement here. So Katie's gonna brief you all on this.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so the ABCC made some changes, and this is to chapter 138, section 12D, and it will allow conversions of all on-premise beer and wine licenses to be upgraded to all alcohol licenses. In order to do this, there are 3 steps for the town to take if they do want to adopt the changes. One, they would have to adopt 12D and send a letter to the ABCC. The ABCC will keep this letter on a permanent file that the town of Mendon has adopted this. It will not change the license quota for the town. It just takes away, like, if there's 5 beer and wine licenses, it will take away from the beer and wine license, but there will actually be like all alcohol licenses issued. Because if they want to sell the license, like the business, it can't be transferred. So they would have to convert it back to beer and wine, convert it or like sell it to someone else, and then they would have to go through the same thing of upgrading the license after.
What's the reasoning?
Yeah. Can I ask that if it's, is it because a lot of the new canned drinks that are available that have, rather than being malt drinks, they have
Like hard.
Oh, like
hard
the
seltzers and
vodka
malt,
drinks.
vodka and things like that, it allows those to be sold.
Whereas
Whereas they can't right now because they're not malt, they're hard liquor.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I think it's more about like allowing people to be able to make more money in the economy right now.
Yeah, so it's trying to simplify the licensing process. So it allows a local control, right? We would have to adopt this MGL at a town meeting. So this would have to go on the warrant and do all that. But it kind of just allows a seamless expansion of offerings for local businesses. I think that's a good point about the hard seltzer thing.
I didn't come up with that myself. I just know somewhere along the line, I heard that discussion, that was in the pipeline at the State House. Because there are a lot of people who, rather than having beer, they'd like to have one.
Right, it's like a mixed drink in a can, right?
Correct. And frankly, unless it was a full liquor license, they can't. So this is a way to.
I'd be curious how it affects like the farm licenses. It doesn't.
It doesn't apply to the farm
It's
license.
just commercial liquor licenses.
And how many do we have?
One.
The one that we just transferred.
No, it's
Because that was all. So we have one current on-premise wine and malt beverage license that would be eligible. I don't know that we know if they have any interest in converting it, but
Like deluxe pizzas?
yes, that's the only one.
Okay,
exactly.
but I was trying to think who in town has beer, but nothing else.
Yeah, so there would be one entity that's eligible. Should town meeting adopt this. So it's an option for the town. We're not under any obligation. I don't think Deluxe Pizza is even clamoring for it. But because it was a change in state regulation that applies to something in town that this board has oversight on, we wanted to make you aware.
And you said that it couldn't be transferred. So if this one business, for example,
Yeah,
did adopt it,
so we'd go back to beer and wine, and then that new pizza business that comes in or whatever would have beer and wine, but then would have to request that we up it.
Yeah,
And
so
that would be at our purview
Right,
because
there's
of the
local-
MGL.
there's local control. Once we adopt the MGL, this is the question. Once we adopt the MGL, then there's local control over the transfer.
Yes, so it would have to come to the board to be transferred to a full alcohol license. And then the board can, or actually the town can reverse this at any time or adopt it at any time. So
Does it always involve the town hall, the town meeting vote to do that, move it back and forth? Do you know?
Not for that. So you are the local licensing authority.
No.
So so Deluxe Pizza has a wine and beer right now, and they want to go to a full all beverages. They don't have to go through the ABCC. If we adopt this MGL, they come to this board and you say yes. and then they sell the business or they transfer the liquor license, it reverts back to the wine and beer. And then the new owner would have to come back here and say, we want to go back to the old.
But the issue with town meeting vote is to adopt the MGU.
Town meeting would give this board the ability to do that transfer.
Thanks.
And when this does like if the board does adopt this and Deluxe Pizza does want to transfer it, you have to have a public hearing, notify all the abutters, just like a brand new.
But we can't do any of that until we put it on the warrant at a town meeting and vote.
So my counsel is that it allows the board additional flexibility with no additional obligation. So it's
I'm not opposed
I
to
would suggest
letting it vote up.
put it on the
Yeah.
warrant.
Makes sense to me.
It's easier on the business.
It's less bureaucracy for everybody.
And it's one business.
And like you said, Katie, it actually allows people to make more money by making more offerings.
Do they have to like get is there a different tip certification or whatever? No, right? So they don't really need to do anything. It's just a paper process. Well, that's good. All right.
So we will have that on the draft STM warrant for you all.
So number 9, one-day liquor license application for the Mendon Upton Youth Soccer Association. And so this is a pretty regular event that we've had here in town. Tell that Memorial Field. They do a great job of setting up that big tent, keeping everybody safe and cleaning up afterwards. I don't think I've heard any complaints from parks or otherwise or highway regarding this event. So there was an email sent in that's in your packet. And yeah, I don't have anything additional to add. I don't know if Jeremy and Katie have anything additional.
We have a representative from the line.
Oh, we do?
Yeah, hey, this is Jeff Peterson. Thanks for having me and noticing I was here. Great. I mean, you hit everything. This is an annual event. We missed last year, but this will probably be the ninth year that we've done this. We do.
Very loud in here. I don't think that's your fault. That's our fault.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Yeah. I mean, are you expecting it's the same size? Like, are you expanding it or contracting it at all?
It's going to be the same. And actually year after year, it's kind of dwindled a bit. So we're hoping to be 250, 300 attendees. I think in years past, when we first started, it was around 500. But I certainly don't anticipate that. And our insurance, we went for 400, but still, I don't anticipate that many people.
Okay. And you've reached out to public safety and all that good stuff, and
we haven't secured a detail yet, but that's certainly something that we'll do. We've done that every year, so at least one. We'll have at least one officer there.
Well, my suggestion is to leave it up to the public safety. If the police chief feels we need it, otherwise if he feels they don't.
Yeah, just as part of our routing process, right down the notification chain. Okay. Does anyone from the board have any other questions?
This, if we make a motion to approve, would be pending successful completion of routing.
Yeah.
It is complete.
It's already done.
It should be in the packet.
It's done, right?
All right. Well, then I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All right. Elena, do you want to clarify what we're approving?
Well, because I don't think anybody said that.
I don't think I said the
I'm
time
out.
either, no.
So this is about the one-day liquor license application for Mendon Upton Youth Soccer Association to be held October 25th from 6 to 10 p.m. at Memorial Field.
Can I get an amended second?
Amended second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Good luck with your event.
I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Sorry I came in so hot.
You're great.
Have a good night. See ya.
All right, number 11, town meeting. We need to talk about a date that we will hold town meeting, and I believe Jeremy had asked you guys to consider your calendars. And we also asked clerk and other responsible parties to give us a date. What are you thinking?
So, I spoke with the town accountant, fiscal 25, has closed out on schedule. So we have through the end of this month to pay stuff. So we're not gonna have everything buttoned up until September, both on a revenue posting and an expenditure posting. But the accounting is confident that we will be able to submit for certification of free cash before the end of September. So that'll give us our free cash numbers sometime in mid-October, hopefully by the latest. So I'm looking at early November. Last year we did a little bit later in November than I think most folks were comfortable with. So looking at, I'm going to pull up the school response right now, but looking for your collective availability for a town meeting date in early.
On Halloween?
Not Halloween. I'm at a wedding on Halloween, so that doesn't.
Really?
Or I'm away for Saturday, November 1st.
Oh, so you don't dress up or anything?
So yeah, sorry, the schools, the week of November 3rd is not available. And then Mondays are kind of booked for the schools in November. So we'd be looking at the week of November 10th, week of November 17th, probably at the latest.
11th is a holiday, I believe.
Yeah, 11th is Veterans Day.
What's this, the town clerks?
Available. She's available after. I had this written down. I forgot my notebook.
So we're talking 12th, 13th, or 14th.
So the town clerk is available through the second week of November.
So
13th or 14th. I think we stay away from a Friday, right?
I mean, we could do it on a Thursday night or a Wednesday night. I wouldn't want to do it on the 10th because of the Veterans Day. People are going to extend
Yeah, right. People will take
a
that day out.
holiday.
How about the 12th? We usually meet on Wednesday.
Yeah, the 12th seems like a reasonable day now that we don't have day restrictions anymore.
is this, but I think we didn't have a day restriction for the special.
The day restriction for the special?
Correct. Correct.
It was only the annual.
Only the annual has to be on Friday.
And Dan Byer is available on the 12th.
And
Yeah, all three of those days work for me.
How about the moderator?
Moderator did not respond to my email.
should somebody text the moderator?
Okay.
I personally like the Wednesday better than the Thursday, just 'cause I keep teaching in Boston in the afternoon on Thursdays.
That's the 11th, the 10th we said?
The 12th, Wednesday, the 12th. And that week's traditionally light for all the school system because they've got election, Veterans Day, they usually do school,
Oh, yeah, the parent-teacher.
parent teacher conferences. That's like one of those weeks where there's like not a lot going on.
Yeah, it's awkward with the Tuesday.
Yeah, there's a. Like today's one of those ones.
I'm waiting for a response. So
All right, so
come back. Yeah.
pencil it in.
Just, the town clerk is not available for the week.
Yeah, I got the notice through the second week of November. So I will, if the 12th doesn't work, I'll then follow up. 12th does work for the town clerk, for Dan Byer, who works our liquors. And Katie shadows at every meeting. And it's available for the schools as well.
12th, 13th, that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday that week, is that free for everyone you just listed, Jeremy?
Yes.
I want to say Wednesdays are first pending.
And then,
the
Thursday.
moderator, and then Thursday or Friday. I don't really care what either day, but if you're teaching in Boston, I don't think
I mean, it would be better for me, but I mean, I'll get here by 7 at least. I'm not chair, so like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but and it's 7 o'clock. I should be able to, but you know.
I think primary, secondary, tertiary. You got 3 days there.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, yeah. Wednesday would be great that way.
Do we have to motion this
To
to have an official date?
have an official date of yes, but if we're waiting for the moderator, then I'm not sure if you want to or not. We can even do it later in the meeting if we.
All right, let's put a pause on that one and talk about the grant writing process.
All right, so I'm gonna take this. Oh my gosh, I'm not in a meeting. Hold on, sorry. So this agenda item is in response to a few times that folks have applied for grants and either I or accounting didn't know about it. Okay, it's not. I wasn't invited to the meeting, apparently. Either I or accounting was not made aware of the grant being applied for, and that meant that we had. Sorry, this is not ideal.
I was trying to share for you, but then
Yeah.
my screen locked up.
All right, so I'm just not going to share something. It's just a Word document, so I'm just going to talk rather than try to do things at the same time. So there were a handful of times where either accounting or myself was not made aware of a department head or a board chair or somebody applying for a grant or the parameters of a grant, the reporting requirements on a grant. And what that meant was either at the end of a fiscal year or towards the end of a requirement on the grant, we're in a rush to do all this back end stuff to be able to pay an invoice on time and get proof of payment and all this sort of thing. So what I asked Katie to come up with, and we revised it a few times, is a grant, just a grant application process to say, we're never going to quash something right on the front end, but as a town, the select board is responsible for accepting grants. So we want to make sure that we're applying for things that support the mission that the select board wants to set for the town. The thing that I come back to a lot is my first couple of months when I was with the public schools at Brookline, somebody applied for a food service equipment grant, and we were going to get this steamer that did something or other. And it was like this $15,000 grant that required $15,000 match. And it was like, well, we don't actually need this. It's like a nice to have piece of capital. We don't want to spend this $15,000 we wouldn't have otherwise spent. So it's trying to avoid that process to make sure that it aligns with the financial ability of the town and the policy mission of the board. So it will be as folks apply, before folks apply, writing out every aspect of the grant, the grantor, the date, and it also helps things like the earmark that the library got to do the rectory study. We needed to submit proof of payment to the state by June 30th, which is uncommon for a grant. Usually you have to incur the expense and then you can pay it by the end of July and then submit it. But they wanted a canceled check on June 30th that showed we paid this grant. And that was not a universal understanding of being able to process an invoice. So it was kind of a running around on June 26th, 27th to figure this out and make sure we didn't lose this $25,000 that we had already expended. And we figured it out. Tracy and Andrew did a great job to do it. So we're trying to avoid that with this process. So there's no vote necessary from the board. We just want this and the next point on signs. I just wanted to make you aware of kind of it's paper. It's a bureaucratic method to do this, and it's going to slow some things down. I think we'll do a better job at the end because of it. So we just want to make the board aware.
Will you inventory this stuff someplace?
So we're
We'll keep track of it somehow?
Yeah, so the idea is to have a dedicated grant, a series of grant files. So to have a universal way of storing grant records. So we have, before you actually get you have the application, then you have this form that, Katie and I both see, the accountant sees, and then we have the contract, and then we have the invoices, then we have the report, and then we have the closeout. So we kind of standardize what a grant file looks like.
I think it's worth mentioning at this point, we've had discussions in the past, as a matter of fact, with a previous interim town administrator. That might be a good idea to have a grant writer. And actually the salary, the cost of that grant writer could be based on the grants they receive, but having one point person. I think that's what you're getting at, right? So there's kind of a gatekeeper.
Yeah, right now it's going to be Katie and I, right?
Right.
So yeah, most grants, well, I shouldn't say that. A lot of large grants, which require dedicated administration and writing, have an administrative cost aspect to them where you can charge 5% of the grant total or whatever to be able to support salaries like that. And it's a great, for the right type of person, it's a great work setup where we're not guaranteeing you lifelong employment, and we're only guaranteeing you 10 hours a week while you're here or something like that. So it doesn't work for everybody, but it could work.
Well, previous
I can't remember his last name.
month had, because I had broached that subject with him, and it was the asking when I asked, may not be the case anymore. But I think if he could, there's probably others that might be perfect. And I think I really believe it's a missed opportunity. I think there's an awful lot of things that probably slip through the cracks people aren't aware of. But if somebody, part of their job is to look out for it and find it.
We don't have an assistant town administrator
Right.
in
And
the
it's a
near
good-
future.
And it's a good way to begin to develop that position.
So will everything you just described, the form and the process you provided an overview of, that's going to be embedded into the financial policies?
So that's, yeah, exactly right. So that will be, I shouldn't say, the form itself likely won't be in the policies because I want to tweak it based on feedback. It will say successful completion of the grant approval.
There'll be a policy.
Maybe it'll be in the appendix and we can just, or whatever. But yeah, it will be in the policy. And then what that assures is before the grant gets to select board to approve it, which I know we've expended grants that the select board hasn't approved before. So before the grant gets to select board to approve, it's like our routing slip, but for grants.
Great.
And then the signs.
Same deal. It's like a
And what
routing.
signs are you talking about here, Jeremy?
So this is turtle crossing signs and stop signs and yield signs and or the removal of signs. And so we've had 2 requests in the past couple of weeks and months for the placement of a sign, a stop sign and a wildlife crossing sign. And the process was a little informal, that it was, well, what does the police chief think, sort of thing. So again, Katie wrote up a workflow process on this, and then kind of came up with a form, which again this won't be in the financial policies because it's not really, there is a financial piece to it, but marginal and minimal. So it'll just have the person who wants to request a sign, fill it out and say why. And then the review process is public safety and highway and myself. And then we'll make a recommendation to the board.
Make another suggestion, just I'm remembering discussions at town meetings about it, that we make sure that in that process, they actually specify what the sign is made of. If it's wooden or if it's metal.
Okay.
And the construction of it, just to make sure it fits in the area it's going to be in.
Yeah, that's not on our form. I think I would leave that up to the highway superintendent to say the appropriate installation and construction. So this will also have kind of revision aspects to it. And so what I thought was interesting, and I did agree with, is Katie wrote in and you some other folks an appeal process. So if either I or the board says no at some point, folks can say, no, we really want this sign, and request a public hearing or sign. Hope we don't get there. for most signs. But as Jason pointed out too, there's at least one sign that the origin kind of
There's a sign I drive past on my street every day that
just doesn't make sense.
doesn't make sense at all, doesn't belong. And this is probably why they're, at some point in time, somebody asked for the sign, they put it up, didn't ask. Now it's just hanging. So.
The town moderator is available on that Wednesday to moderate.
Great.
All right, well,
Thank you.
so unpausing the town meeting discussion number 11, I'd be looking for a motion to open the town meeting warrant scheduled for November 12th, thank you, 2025. I put my calendar away.
7 p.m.
7 p.m. at
Misco Middle School.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those against? Motion passes. I hope, Brendan, you can make it. All right, so is that it with number 13 on the sign process?
Yeah, it was just kind of an FYI. This is a thing that you will see, so we wanted to talk about it on the front end.
All right, number 14, Providence Street culvert update.
Yeah, so this is exciting. If the board remember, we talked about this and how to fund this project a while ago. We were talking between grants and then between an appropriation from special town meeting of $300,000 for design services, and then using the capital stabilization fund at the $300 and something thousand, and then possibly and hopefully bonding for this. It's not letting me share this window. So about a $1.9 million project. We had initially talked about $100,000 in a DOT small bridge repair program for design. We were awarded that $100,000. We kind of went about it a little backwards and signed the contract first and then got the grant. But DOT wanted this project to go ahead, and they kind of made it happen to us and assigned our already contracted designer as our designer. So we will de-scope $100,000 from our current contract and assign that to a DOT contract. And then just this week, we were awarded through the Massachusetts DER Division of Ecological Restoration a $116,000 grant to do stream crossing. And so I really applaud our partner at Tie and Bond. Chris Houle is our project manager there, who previously worked for the Division of Ecological Restoration and made sure our contract was written in a way that we were supremely eligible for this grant. So there's $2 million given in this grant round across the state, and we were awarded $116,000 in it. So we had a call earlier, Highway Superintendent John Dudley and I and Chris Houle from Tie and Bond, DER, and another Tie and Bond engineer on how we, a little inside baseball of it, but how we kind of cash flow and use buckets to be able to maximize this $216,000 worth of grants. So really we have a $300,000 design contract. We're probably going to need a little bit more on the back end for construction oversight, depending on how we want to configure that. But of that $300,000, we've gotten 216.
Right, so we budgeted already though for the 1.9, right? So we have kind of like a 10% discount to play with.
So we've only appropriated the 300,000. So we'll be able to take essentially that 216 and push it to the next phase of the project. And we're already in conversation with DOT about how to time and align our application for phase 2 of the small bridge repair program, which is the $500,000 piece, which is obviously twice as important as what we've already got. So we are on track right now to have bid docs ready by March, April, and do a summer 2026 construction. We're finalizing the permitting design drawings right now. We're about 60%. We're filing a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission shortly. There are abutters that are being impacted So we need their signature on the notice of intent. Very, very minimal impact and
Are they still thinking like 4 months?
about 3 months is what we're talking now.
Okay.
We had a traffic engineer do a observation and data collection on Cemetery Street. And the recommendation from Time Bond is to not make Cemetery Street a two-way, to maintain it as a one-way and use the diversion that we had previously used. The 3 months is a estimate with a full shutdown of Providence Street. There is the option to do a one-lane shutdown, but I think more than doubles the time we actually have to keep the road
If we
closed.
can get it done before school.
And just so that there's no confusion, we actually had a professional traffic engineer study this process and determine that it's not acceptable to turn Cemetery Street into a two-way street.
Correct.
It's unsafe and unadvised, and it's going to stay a one-way.
Part of the width was serviceable, not ideal in all spaces, but serviceable. It was traffic flow, taking a left onto Cemetery Street and then observing traffic that would have been diverted there, taking a left out of Cemetery Street. And without a signal there, what that would do for traffic flow. He did not go as far as to say it would be necessarily longer than the diversion that was previously used and will continue to be used, but it characterized it as unsafe and not ideal, which comported with the police chief's previous opinion. So the police chief had said he was open to discussions on making it a two-way, but that was not his preference. But he would wait to hear from our consultants, and our consultants kind of came back with the same opinion after studying it.
And that's not the first time that conclusion has been drawn the same way.
That's why it was turned into a one-way street to begin with. Yeah.
And part of it too
It's
is
also the bridge,
Right.
the culvert at Muddy Brook, and truck traffic that was used.
right. So heavy truck traffic coming from the other way, fully loaded trucks, if it was a two-way, would be stressors on the road in ways that when trucks are going back empty, it's not nearly as much of a stressor.
Specifically the gravel company.
Correct.
Yeah.
Almost exclusively the gravel company. So I sent a note this afternoon after our meeting with DER, the Division of Ecological Restoration, to our financial advisors at UFASI, at Unibank, to say here, so my plan still is to say, can we fit this inside the levy at about a $70-something thousand a year in debt service for a 15-year bond. So I'm getting them to sketch something out, talk about timing. It would be the sort of thing where we went kind of short term, long term, so as to not pay interest on more than we needed to over the course of 2 fiscal years. So of the 15-year bond, the first 2 years we would essentially have just interest only payments, so quite small. I don't know if we'll be able to get there, but
Why the 15 over a 10?
that is, well, 15 is the maximum that DLS allows for road-related debt. And because we have no debt inside the levy right now, I prioritized minimizing yearly debt service over minimizing total payment.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so it's all kind of, so that the process would be to get an authorization at annual town meeting in the spring to say the town is authorized to borrow the $750,000 or whatever it is that we need. But we wouldn't borrow that right away, and we probably wouldn't borrow the whole of that. But
And that's not too late for anything to kick off in the summer?
No.
Okay.
Because if we go out to bid in April and we have a May town meeting, once we have the authorization, we don't have to borrow anything. We would be able to set up the fund and then execute a contract against that. So we could just time the bid to be mid to late April, and then we have 30 to 60 days, depending on how we write it after that.
Okay.
And crucially, if it's within inside the levy, it does not require a ballot vote, just town meeting approval.
What's more crucially is explaining, because we usually don't do that. People are gonna hear debt, they're gonna think it's an addition to.
There is no marginal increase in your tax rate.
No, but I mean,
You don't have to spend a lot.
No, but this whole project to me, we should probably plan on fairly regular communication, whether it's
Yeah.
the impact, the detour, the financing, because this is a whole new ball of wax that I think would be really good to communicate to people to understand. This is a different way of financing things from a capital standpoint we haven't done in the past.
Yeah, it's an excellent point, Mike.
So
It's,
Yeah, we're not gonna pay cash for a $2 million.
right, and it's just, it's one of those things, oh, big things can get done without necessarily my taxes always going up,
takes
managing it.
planning, right? Planning, expertise, and it's all been done.
So that this does contemplate using our capital stabilization fund to fund this as well. So this would be,
When you say capital, you're talking about stabilization.
so we've got our stabilization and we've got our capital
Okay.
stabilization, which is 340,000, 320,000.
I was okay with using stabilization.
For this reason.
If you need a cash upfront to be able to put it within the levy, if you need to take more out, I would say hit that.
So as we refine our drawings and estimates and we actually put our capital stack together, I'll make sure we consider stabilization. I'm going to try to prioritize not, but if that's what makes it work, then
Well, I mean, once again, it's a good message. We have a capital plan. We've got capital funding. We're doing things within the levy. This is all, will feel new to the people, taxpayers in Mendon.
And pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
The people who are following. And I also think that there's still probably an opportunity to go to the state and probably get even more of this, the cost of more of this defrayed.
yeah. So we're looking at, over $700,000 in grants for a $2 million project. So, 30, 30, 1/3, 2/3,
Right.
just.
Can I ask a culvert question? It's sort of an addendum to this.
Sure.
Weren't we going for a grant just to do a culvert study across all the other culverts? in Denver?
Yes, that's ongoing. We haven't heard back from that.
Yeah, there was a culvert program there.
Right, I'm just thinking that this is a big one, but we got a lot of culverts. in
A
town.
lot of culvert, yeah. Well, we think it's a big one, but I think there's a couple of others that may be
Yeah,
even more, thinking particularly on Bellingham Street, and Hartford Ave East.
Yeah.
The Muddy Brooks and the Muddy
Muddy Brook.
River one.
Right before the farm. That road itself also a little rough shape.
Again. It's a cycle.
Are you good to move on to your town administrator updates?
Yeah, for sure.
Great.
Right, number 15.
So this will be short because numbers like 12, 13, and 14 were things that I would typically put in this town administrator update. But I wanted to call them out because they were, I thought they deserved their own point. So the capital planning committee met on Monday evening. After we had our department head meeting the prior week where we focused, a quarter of the time on capital. So department heads owe me stuff back on capital this week, at the end of this week. So we have 2 more meetings scheduled with the capital planning committee in September. Plan to invite department heads to the first one to talk about their projects. One thing I added to the matrix was a departmental prioritization. So something that the working group had done previously was go through and prioritize projects based upon a universal rubric for all the projects. But what we didn't have there is what the departments themselves kind of wanted or thought. So it allowed the opportunity for us to say, project A is the most important, and the department saying actually B is far more important to my operation. So we layered that in, and we'll be considering that as well. And then hopeful that by the 2nd or 3rd, if we need to schedule a meeting in September, to have prioritization recommendations for the capital planning committee to then come join hopefully a joint meeting of select board and possibly finance committee to present a capital plan. So we currently have a 3-member capital planning committee. All of them are also members of other committees in town, which I think gives a good perspective. So we have James Thatch, who's also a library trustee, as I believe he's vice chair. Chair is Phil Sipley, who's also on the Council on Aging, and Jesse Curl, who is also on the finance committee. And Jesse has taken it to, because of his personal work, professional work, to talk about kind of a roll-up plan. So even though we're looking kind of at a 3 to 5 year window, typically we do have some stuff kind of in out years that we really know about. So we're going to try to present capital needs kind of aggregated together in a high level to the committee as well as individual projects. So we know our universe a little bit better. But we have a pretty aggressive schedule for September, but all with the aim of having recommendations ready to include on the special town meeting warrant. Similar to that, our senior center study that we used ARPA money to fund, looking at alternatives to the North Ave site to say, to kind of at the end of the study to measure up against what we have at North Ave and say, do we have any other viable alternatives? So right now we're looking at an expansion of the current Taft Library to be a senior community library center, working in conjunction with the rectory study that we had an earmark for, an expansion in place of the current senior center. So we actually don't have great drawings of the senior center. It doesn't seem that a permit was ever pulled when the building or the expansion was done. So we have a plot plan and we have and we have the septic plan, but we don't have as-built. So our consultant's going to come out and do that.
For some reason, I thought we had a rendering of an
I
expansion.
think it's like at the very beginning, they did like a rough sketch of the building.
So we have a plot plan. So we have
No,
the,
this was.
So the interior, like they had.
It was a layout of the existing
Building.
expansion onto
Yeah.
entrances. It was the same architect, I thought.
okay, we've looked a lot of places. I haven't seen.
I sent you a link at some point.
It was like so early in the project. It was one of the first things they brought to us.
It was like, I think it was 2022 that they presented. I found stuff.
Okay.
I'll have to look because I think I found something.
But it was done by the architect.
Right, it was like-
It was where they were showing that if they extended it, it
Yes,
wouldn't
but
be able
they
to
started
support.
He
Yeah.
started with the existing.
It might have been when it was a different company name, like Petrovic and somebody.
His prior.
So yeah, I've maybe I missed that one. I've taken all the data we've gotten on this stuff and kind of put it on our consultants. So we'll go back and redo that, but they they're gonna send out one of their staff people and laser it and get all the doors and the windows and the openings and the whatever. So if we have that rendering at this point, maybe this is a more precise drawing we can use in the future too.
Can you ask them if someone had access to a Leica scanner and was to scan the building? Is that what if it would save us the cost?
Yeah, so this is all within this is not an additive. This is all within the scope that they've bought. Yeah.
All right.
So they're doing this on their own dime. And then so on the library site, I'm joining a trustees meeting later this week to kind of talk through this and what I think are the pros, the cons, the feasibility. We've had discussions with conservation about wetlands delineations and our ability to expand parking lots. We've had discussions with Board of Health and how both wells and existing septic and leach fields limit or allow further expansion and development. So the project was a little stalled for a few months as we focus on other things, but we've been past couple weeks have been really going at a pretty good clip. And then all my other stuff is an executive session to talk about.
All right, so number 16, future agenda items. We have our highway surveyor coming on October 1st. Is he still ready to do that? Jeremy has talked with Dylan about party of land item. And I don't know, do we have a plan for that? Or is that like, we need to actually have a meeting and talk about what we need?
Yeah, that is still in the conceptual.
Fee structure and bylaw. I have not caught up with the bylaw committee on their recent discussions, so I don't have an update on that. kind of still floating around the fact that we need to have a discussion about the existing fees and upping them. But we did talk last meeting about having a unified fee structure. So that's something that does have to come up in a future meeting. And then we have 2 appointments. So the Parks Commissioner appointment, that's a meeting that we need to arrange with the Parks Department. The 45 days has passed, and we have some people who said that they're interested, and so we need to have a joint.
And we were keying off of Patrick Parks.
Then planning is a shall, and so we have posted the 45-day, started the 45-day clock for the planning appointment, and then just like Parks, we're going to have to meet with planning, appoint a new individual to that, and I believe we have interest for both of these, so this shouldn't be too hard to fill. And that's that. Our next meetings are September 3rd. And September 17th. And for number 18, our executive session, which would be for purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining and not to reconvene an opening session. And so I will read out the motion. I move that the Town of Mendon Select Board enter into executive session pursuant to purpose 3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect of the bargaining position of the public body, and purpose 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. The select board will not reconvene in open session following the executive session. So please have a great evening, and we will see you next time. Oh, right.
Half the motion first.
And we're going to pass the motion. So we've got a second. That was just a light tap. Discussion?
Roll call.
Yep, it's going to be a roll call vote. And so, roll call, Jason Cooter, aye.
All right.
Drugos, aye.
Raleigh.
All right. And so the motion passes to enter executive session. Now I will do it more firm. See you later. Have a great night.